The Interstellar Academy's crystalline corridors gleamed under artificial sunlight, a testament to the peaceful coexistence of 17 different species. For 2 centuries, the galaxy had known peace, and the Academy represented that ideal. Young cadets from across known space learning diplomacy, science, and the arts of cooperation. Violence was a relic of primitive times, or so most species believed. Maya watched from the observation deck as William Chen walked alone through the lower-level recreation area. The human moved with an unusual grace that her species, the Velthori, found difficult to categorize. Velthori were telepathic. Their slender bodies evolved for mental prowess rather than physical confrontation. They could sense emotions, and from William, she detected something that made her crystalline skin shimmer with concern, a deep, controlled awareness that felt like a coiled spring. "Deathworlder," someone muttered behind her. Maya turned to see Krexith, a Dorvani cadet whose species had evolved on a low-gravity moon. His exoskeleton clicked with agitation. "They shouldn't allow his kind here. Earth's gravity is 1.2 standard. Their world is classified as extreme hazard. He could hurt someone just by accident." Maya said nothing, but her concern deepened. She had researched Earth after William's arrival 3 cycles ago. The planet was a nightmare by galactic standards, tectonic activity that regularly devastated populations, weather systems that could destroy cities, predators at every level of the food chain, and microorganisms so aggressive that Earth's inhabitants had developed immune systems that treated everything as a potential threat. Humans had evolved not just to survive on their world, but to dominate it. The confrontation happened in Sector 7, a recreational area usually empty during the evening cycle. Maya had followed at a distance, her telepathic senses picking up malicious intent from a group ahead. 7 cadets, 3 Dorvani, 2 Krellin, and 2 Thazari, had positioned themselves in William's path. "Deathworlder," Krexith stepped forward, his translator converting the word into something dripping with contempt. "You don't belong here." William stopped, his dark eyes scanning the group with clinical precision. He stood 1.8 meters tall, average for his species, but in the low 0.8 standard gravity of the station, he moved with an efficiency that suggested perfect control over every muscle. His heart rate, Maya noted through her empathic sense, hadn't even elevated. "I'm just trying to get to my quarters," William said quietly, his voice carrying that strange flat affect humans used when suppressing emotion. "You're a hazard," one of the Krellin hissed, their serpentine body coiling. The Krellin were ambush predators on their homeworld, but that world had 0.6 standard gravity and nothing larger than small rodent analogs. "Your kind conquered your planet through violence. We've seen the records, wars, genocides, predation. You're barely civilized." William's jaw tightened, the only outward sign of emotion. "We've also created art, music, literature. We've built civilizations that reached for the stars. Judge me by my actions here, not my planet's history." "Your actions," Krexith laughed, a sound like grinding rocks. "You broke Thurl's arm during combat practice." "It was an accident during a sanctioned exercise," William replied. "I apologized. I paid his medical fees. I even adjusted my strength ratings in the system to prevent it happening again." "Not good enough." Krexith moved closer and the others followed. They formed a semicircle, cutting off escape routes. "We're going to teach you a lesson about knowing your place." Maya wanted to intervene, but her telepathic call for security would take precious seconds to root through the system. She watched, horrified, as Krexith lunged forward with surprising speed for his species. What happened next took 3.7 seconds. William's body shifted with a fluidity that seemed to defy the station's gravity. Krexith's clawed appendage swept through empty air as William sidestepped with minimal movement, a principle called economy of motion that Maya had read about in human martial arts texts. William's hand, moving in a controlled arc, struck the Dorvani's thorax at a calculated point. The impact wasn't brutal or wild. It was precise, targeted and utterly devastating. Krexith's exoskeleton cracked with a sound like breaking ceramics, and he collapsed, gasping, his respiratory spiracles struggling to function. The two Krellin struck simultaneously, their species' ambush tactics hardwired into their nervous systems. But humans had evolved alongside ambush predators far more lethal than the Krellin could imagine. William dropped his center of gravity, something only possible for species from high-gravity worlds, and swept his leg in a wide arc. Both Krellin hit the floor, their sinuous bodies tangling together. One of the Thizari, insected creatures with compound eyes offering 270-degree vision, attempted to grab William from behind while her companion struck from the front. They had coordinated, using their natural advantages. They hadn't accounted for human proprioception, the ability to know exactly where one's body was in space, honed by millions of years of hunting and being hunted. William's elbow drove backward into the Thizari behind him, striking her thorax with controlled force. Simultaneously, his other hand caught the second Thizari's striking limb, redirecting the momentum in a move that Maya recognized from human judo. The Thizari flipped over William's hip and crashed to the floor. The remaining two Dorvani hesitated, their threat assessment algorithms clearly malfunctioning. In their experience, violence was slow, telegraphed, and rarely decisive. They had never encountered a species that had refined violence into a science, that had developed hundreds of martial arts over thousands of years, each designed to maximize efficiency and minimize wasted energy. William didn't pursue. He simply stood, breathing steadily, his heart rate barely elevated above resting. His eyes tracked both remaining opponents with a predator's focus, the same focus his ancestors had used to track prey across African savannas and through Asian jungles. "Leave," William said, his voice still quiet but carrying an undertone that made Maya's empathic senses scream warnings. It was the voice of a species that had climbed to the top of the most brutal food chain in known space. Now. The two Dorvani fled. Security arrived 40 seconds later, their anti-gravity sleds humming. Maya rushed forward, her telepathic signature identifying her to the officers as a witness. The scene was chaos, 5 cadets groaning on the floor, one human standing calmly in the center, and security trying to process what had happened. "He attacked us," Krexith wheezed from the floor, his translator struggling with his labored breathing. "That's false," Maya said firmly, her telepathic honesty impossible to fake. "They surrounded him, 7 against 1. They initiated violence. He defended himself." The security chief, a 4-armed Quarthai, examined the scene with his multiple eyes. He looked at William, then at the 7 cadets in various states of injury. "Cadet Chen, are you injured?" "No, sir," William replied, standing at attention. "Did you strike first?" "No, sir. I used appropriate force to defend myself and to neutralize immediate threats to my safety." The Quarthai's mandibles clicked thoughtfully. He had reviewed human files before, had to, given the concerns about accepting a Deathworld species into the Academy. He understood what he was looking at. A human operating at perhaps 15% of their capacity, in reduced gravity that made them even more dangerous, against species that had never needed to develop serious combat abilities. "The injured will be taken to medical," the Quarthai announced. "Cadet Chen, you will come with me for debriefing. Witness," he nodded to Maya, "you as well." The debriefing took 2 hours. Maya provided her telepathic testimony, which was irrefutable. She had sensed the malicious intent, the premeditated nature of the attack, and William's desperate desire to avoid confrontation. The security recordings confirmed everything. In the end, the 7 attackers were disciplined, and William was cleared of wrongdoing. As they left the security office, Maya approached William in the corridor. He looked tired now, the adrenaline clearly wearing off. "Thank you," he said quietly, "for telling the truth." "It was the truth," Maya replied, "but I have a question if I may ask it." William nodded. You held back considerably, didn't you? I could sense it. You were terrified of hurting them worse than you did. William's expression grew distant. My planet is brutal, Maya. We evolved to survive things that would kill most species in this galaxy. But we also evolved empathy, conscience, and the ability to choose restraint over instinct. Yes, I held back. Significantly. Because they're not my enemies, they're just scared kids who have been taught to fear what they don't understand. And yet you could have killed them, Maya said softly, her empathic senses confirming what she suspected. All of them, in those 3.7 seconds. William met her eyes, and in them, Maya saw something that made her understand humanity in a way no textbook could convey. The burden of being apex predators who had chosen to be more than their nature dictated. Yes, William admitted, but that's not who I choose to be. Earth made us survivors. We're trying to make ourselves into something better, people worthy of standing beside species like yours. That's harder than any fight. Maya's crystalline skin shimmered with understanding. The galaxy had invited humanity to join them, fearing their capacity for violence. But perhaps what they should have been studying was humanity's capacity for restraint, for choosing peace despite being forged in brutality. Come on, Maya said gently. Let's get you to your quarters, and tomorrow maybe you could teach me about your martial arts. I'd like to understand your people better. William smiled, a genuine expression that softened his features. I'd like that. As they walked through the corridors, Maya realized that the galaxy's greatest teachers about peace might not be the species who had never known violence, but the ones who had mastered it and chosen to transcend it. The Deathworld cadet had won his fight in seconds, but the harder battle, winning hearts and minds, would take much longer. And yet, watching William's careful, controlled movements as he navigated the peaceful corridors, Maya suspected humanity was up to the challenge.